It's going to be a good day or a bad day. We're gonna meet someone, we're gonna be pleasantly surprised, or we're gonna have a conversation. This hero will tell us the story that you'll see in this video, a story that we're not hesitating to share with all of you. We were able to get in touch with this particular hero, staying anonymous, who agreed to share her experience. She's currently working as a doctor in the US, California specifically. 15 years ago though, everything was different. She just finished her studies and decided to be a policewoman. During her time as a public servant, she had an incident she'd never forget. In the fall of 2005, it was a normal day for Jenna, getting ready to perform her duty. At the time, she was patrolling the city streets, and on her patrol, she looked at all the parents with their children, the happy students, and all the busy businessmen in their own affairs. But at one point, all of them passed by a homeless man searching through the trash. Something overcame her and she decided to approach him. I saw him from afar. He was alone next to a container taking some bags from there. Maybe to find food? He was obviously hungry, so I got sad and asked him, "How long have you been there?" Jenna asked him and he immediately started apologizing. But she replied, No, I didn't come here to tell you to leave. Calm down, I won't hurt you." When she felt that he had calmed down somewhat, the man told her his name and that he'd been out in the streets for 10 years. Before his life had taken a drastic turn, he had a home and plans for the future. He was eager to have children, but his downward spiral began with the tragic loss of his beloved wife. Unable to take the loss, he began spiraling and drinking, eventually moving on to drugs. Without realizing it, he got addicted to escaping his reality, eventually losing his job and his home. Perhaps out of her youth and little experience, or sympathy maybe, Jenna decided to do something few would. On that day, Jenna bought him a pair of shoes and a jacket she bought from a store. It was very cold outside and seemed like he needed it. She brought him hot food too. The next day, Jenna came back to visit and they spent a long time talking about various things, quickly becoming good friends. One day, the woman decided to take him to rehab so he could leave his current life behind as he was still struggling. He only had to provide a specific form of ID, but he didn't have the money to get one. Jenna gave him the $7 to cover the document request form so he could quickly be on the path to get a job and change his life. Although she knew that giving him money could be potentially dangerous due to his current situation, as many homeless people may prioritize the next hit or bottle instead, something inside her told her that she could trust him. That day before saying his goodbye, he promised her to spend the money on his documents and nothing else. Jenna trusted him, but as soon as she didn't see him the next day in his usual place, she knew something was wrong. She kept coming back again and again, but he no longer showed up there, simply disappearing. She went to the help center he was meant to register in and they told her he never showed. Of course, Jenna felt cheated because she thought she'd changed his life for the better. She lived with that uncertainty for 14 years, not knowing if he was okay or not or if something had gone wrong. Not long after the man's disappearance, Jenna resigned from her position as an officer and decided instead to fulfill her dream of becoming a paramedic. And of course, her mind often wandered back to that man she'd met all those years ago, hoping he was all right and that she'd get her answers someday. October 24th, 2019 turned out to be that special day. Jenna walked into a gas station and while settling with the cashier, noticed the man standing behind her was really looking at her. As she was about to leave the store, he stood in front of her, looking her straight in the eyes with tears in his own. "Don't you remember me?" She stared in his face and suddenly realized it was the same man. Turns out he'd kept his promise after all. He managed to get the ID much earlier than he thought, so he immediately got to work and got so busy he couldn't come back to his usual spot much. He'd gone back a few times, but never when she was around, and eventually not seeing her at all because she'd resigned by then. He was promoted after a few months, moving to another city a few years down the line. He met his future wife there, settling and becoming extremely happy. The entire time he'd been trying to find Jenna without success. He thought their ways had simply parted, but 14 years later, fate reunited them in a city hundreds of miles away from their original meeting spot. In the gas station on that day, the two adults wept like children, unafraid of their feelings because that encounter wasn't just a coincidence, but pure fate. Jenna told us, "In the middle of the store, in the middle of the workday, I just asked an employee to take a picture of me with him. I wanted to share this experience because kindness is of great importance, and a simple and nice gesture can change the course of someone's life. Be nice to everyone you meet, because one day they'll find you and surprise you with eternal gratitude. maybe even offering to stay in touch. This story has without a doubt taught at least some of you that kindness can make or break someone's destiny, often making it for the better. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our latest uploads.